first show of the week, lcpioneers.com live, presented by PioStream on Facebook Live, easily accessible at lcpioneers.com/live, Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 in the morning Pacific time, and archived available to watch on demand as a playlist on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/lcpios. Appreciate you taking the time to join us today on a Tuesday. I am Ryan Goff. I'm the play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications for Lewis and Clark. We're the Pioneers out of Portland, Oregon, a member of the Northwest Conference, competing with other institutions throughout the Pacific Northwest, the state of Washington, Northwest Oregon, and opportunities with over 430 institutions at the NCAA Division III level to compete nationwide. We have student athletes and students from over 30 states, a lot of representation, and certainly opportunities with Lewis and Clark's outstanding overseas study program for our students to go around the world and get education, experiential liberal arts education with our overseas study program. We are excited to invite our guest, a recently graduated student athlete. William Witmer will join us of Pioneers Swimming, a record holder from Phoenix, and get his take on the holistic experience he had at Lewis and Clark, including being an officer in student government, trying to get a picture of exactly what the NCAA Division III experience affords students who choose to compete at Lewis and Clark, because there's heavy and strong competition, especially being in the Northwest Conference. But beyond that, what's that more holistic approach to a student athlete experience like? We'll ask William that in just a few moments. We do invite you to get in touch with the show, whether you want to ask a question for William today or some of our future guests, or even make a suggestion on a guest we should have on the show. You can do so in the Facebook comments, sports@lclark.edu if you choose to email, or in on our social media channels, Instagram and Twitter, LC Pioneers. The goal of the show is to keep you connected with student athletes, coaches, alumni, and members of the Lewis and Clark College community at large. So certainly open to suggestions if you have them. I will show you our social media channels, including our YouTube page, youtube.com/lcpios. We are now into week 12 of the show, and therefore have a pretty good list of our past shows at youtube.com/lcpios. You can click right on the lcpioneers.com live playlist and see all of our past shows there. I also invite you to go to lclark.edu. That is our Lewis and Clark College website. And our alumni office is doing a great job having some virtual programming. This started in part with everything kind of moving off campus in the middle part of March with the coronavirus pandemic. Everyone on campus was trying to find a way to keep people connected. In fact, that's why this show exists. We started this the last day of March, and our alumni group is doing some really cool stuff to keep everyone connected with different classes. And it's been neat because hearing from Emily Decker from the alumni office, opportunities for classes to get together that maybe never have come back to Portland, but have a chance to kind of happy hour together via virtual opportunities. And I think it's kind of been a neat outcome, and something that you just don't want to have, such as a global pandemic, an opportunity to get people more connected and find these channels, these virtual channels, to bring people together. So definitely check that out. Just type in alumni in the search field at lclark.edu, or click on the alumni link, and you can get to there as well. Let's bring in our guest for today's show. Recently graduated senior for Lewis and Clark Swimming, we bring in William Witmer to the program, lcpioneers.com live. William, appreciate you taking the time to join us on this Tuesday. You're still hanging around Portland post-graduation. I'm curious if you can kind of just give us a walkthrough of what your life has been like since mid-March. Classes go remote, and then now here you are a month removed from commencement. How have you been dealing with the last couple months?
Yeah, it's great to be here, Ryan, and I'm glad I could make it today. The world has really changed a lot in the past 3 months, basically, and it's been very interesting to sort of document that change as well. I think like when it really hit me was when they said everybody, for all the students to, if they're returning home, if they were leaving for spring break, they should stay wherever they were going. So that was kind of like oh, well, so some of my roommates, I was living in a college house with some other teammates and whatnot there, and a couple of them went home for the rest of the semester, and then is slowly well, it wasn't even slowly, that sort of harsh adjustment to having all my classes online and all of sort of all my assignments just in my room. It was very, very odd change, as many of it for a lot of us too, a lot of us students. Um, and then basically what happened was like I had all these sort of it is just sort of like through the ship went overboard more or less. It was pretty interesting to see, but also helpful that we had a lot of resilience within the LC community and communities within that community that kept seniors and others just sort of um, on the way out. So yeah, it's been interesting because I would have never. I mean, you can never predict what's going to happen, but you can never predict how, and you can only sort of change how you react to things happening. So, like when I found out my parents weren't going to fly out to see me graduate, and when I found out that I'm not going to fly out to see my brother who just graduated high school, albeit a little later than I did. Um, it was kind of weird to think about, and watching those days go by, I'm like, oh, I would have been in Phoenix right now. I would have been at the Coliseum right now, and like our varsity letters were mailed to us, stuff like that. But other things that weren't even precedented was I was really excited this summer to potentially have an internship at Kaiser or OHSU and some sort of their medical departments, or not medical departments, but like administrative departments, and those were all immediately sort of canceled. Not sort of, they were postponed. I'm not sure what the whereabouts of those are, but this sort of I sort of had to dig deep and find out what other opportunities around me sort of existed, and because of that, I'm still in Portland, yeah, and I'm currently working for Cascadia Behavioral Healthcare as a residential counselor, um, and that's sort of my entry point into the healthcare world as it is. But yeah, so it's been a roller coaster, just all sorts of things, and not and the one thing that really kind of struck me was some of my members of my cohort I might not ever see again. We'd all thinking like, oh, we'd see it. We'd all have them around like towards the end of the graduation. We maybe hang out one time, but everything was sort of like cut short when everybody went home in March. So yeah.
Well, and certainly commendable for you and your entire senior class, and also just, all the student athletes and students who, had to go on that shift on the fly to remote classes. I mean, I appreciate your perseverance because I realize that that was a huge shift in trying to finish this, especially your senior year. Kudos to you and your classmates for being able to accomplish that. A lot of the teams at Lewis and Clark, the student athletes, really rose to the occasion. Record-setting GPAs kind of across the board. And you talk about the medical profession and some of the things you're currently doing and some of the things that might have been. You graduate with biology as your major. What was it about the medical profession that made it something that you're seeking to pursue?
From an early age, I was always interested, like early, like elementary school, and I was always interested in medicine. And I mean, when you're a little kid, you don't know all those sort of careers. You only see things at face value and whatnot. So, doctor, firefighter, teacher, grocery store worker, stuff like that. But I was always piqued by that, interested in medicine because I like caring for people, and I throughout my like time at Lewis and Clark in the biology, it sort of like strengthened in where I wanted to go to, like sort of delve because I want to practice. I do not, sorry, I do not want to practice medicine, but instead be involved in sort of what the day-to-day running of like medical organizations is involved in. So I'm very interested in healthcare and hospital administration, and those sort of internships would have sort of filled that gap for me in future career plans and future education plans. So I always was attracted to the medical field, just because it's very expansive, and I think my time at Lewis and Clark also helped me realize how expansive it was, and like how there's thousands of researchers and practitioners and care workers that are all working together to ensure that people are having their needs met. Um, and albeit this coronavirus has really shown that our system has failed many people, and how going as an adolescent going into and young adult going into that system is how can we improve that for others. So yeah.
William Witmer joining us on lcpioneers.com live, recent graduate of the Pioneers swimming program. I mean, the competitive career is over, William. When you look back at 4 years competing at Lewis and Clark and just your entire swimming career as a whole, I mean, do your best to summarize what your experience was like as a Pioneer student athlete.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of a 4 years. So, like many others that have explained it, I was on a competitive club swimming team before I came to LC. The culture on those teams are a lot different because you've got people that are just swimming for fun and are going to stop after they graduate from high school. And then you have people that are on track to go to D1 schools, full ride, etc. And I was sort of like in the middle because I like swimming for fun, but I was also okay at swimming, and you know, and I never I was like, this would be something fun to do, and to do in college because it's been such a part. And I started swimming when I was about 10 in 2008. Um, it's kind of late depending on who you ask, but I made the best of it. And as part of choosing Lewis and Clark, choosing a school, I wanted to swim, and Lewis and Clark had that sort of draw to me because they had a swimming program, and the location as well. Because some of the other schools in the Northwest area um, were not not in the idyllic locations. Because growing up in Phoenix, I was used to a large city sort of feel, and albeit Portland is nowhere near as large as Phoenix is, and like the expanses, it sort of filled that niche for me in that sort of urban landscape, even though the campus is set away in the suburbs, but it was still readily accessible. But I think those 4 years kind of flew by. I had a very rough freshman year, and I know I'm not alone in that, but I really sort of got I put my ducks in a line and sort of recovered from that. And because of that, I deeply attribute like my coaches and my cohort to where I am today, because of how like they always persevere, they're always patient with me. I especially give my thanks for Chris. He's helped me numerous times on many things, not even swimming related, and he's also been just a great figure in my life for the past 4 years. So I greatly appreciate everything that Chris has done for me and many others before me and after me. But I think switching my focus in swimming really helped me a lot, because I used to be like very competition oriented and very like I want to be like the best of the best, and that sort of brought my self esteem down a lot. But then I realized when I got here, and then up and just through these 4 years, that I'm swimming because I enjoy the sport, and if I'm good at it, that's great. If I'm not the best, that's okay too, because at the end of the day, it's what you want and what the people around you are sort of feeding off that energy as well.
Well, and I think that's a really interesting perspective too, to give us the insight that that freshman year was tougher because I watch you in your senior year with the group of teammates that you had, go through senior night, that last conference meet, and it seems like your senior year was pretty special from the outside looking in. Describe it from your perspective. What was it like to be a senior and work on getting records and capitalizing on a junior year where you also were part of a record-setting team?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think senior year was really special for me, not just because it was senior year, but because it was sort of like everything was coalescing together in my life, and in sort of school was getting a lot more. I was finally understanding it and whatnot, albeit maybe too late. But as far as swimming goes, I was a captain last year, and one of our other men's captain, Samuel Raphael, he was abroad in Germany. So I was like, okay, he did what he could remotely, and I greatly appreciate what he was doing, is still being involved socially with everybody. but I sort of like helped set like the standards for going into this year, and helping out all the incoming underclassmen, and sort of being very friendly and giving them sort of what the experience I would have wanted when I came in, and sort of like being helpful but not overstepping my boundaries. So that was uh, sort of a key part of that, was helping everybody sort of understand, and telling the freshmen like, hey, I was in that same boat. I used to always miss morning practice because I was, just too tired, or I was just not focusing correctly in my classes, and my GPA wasn't the greatest. But look at me now. It's possible. I believe in all. You can do it. Sort of setting that support up for everybody helped them a lot. Um, Personally, I felt like this was my great best year for swimming probably ever. It's only been going up since my freshman year, but I think because of the new coach, Coach Laney, who was helping us out as well, and sort of I was able to center my mind and sort of what that does for the body as well, and sort of how they all connect together and make it so that you can really achieve your goals and push your body to the limit, more or less. And an exhilarating feeling, especially towards the end. At that last meet, it's sort of like, this is it. This is everything in the water. Everything, you got to leave it all in the water, is what we say. Basically, it's just your last shot. No matter if it's your last conference meet or if it's one of your first four conference meets. And I definitely attribute the growth of all of the individuals in our cohort as well. Class of 2020, we all came together and were able to persevere and whatnot, and we're pretty good friends too. So yeah, I think it was very special to me because it's sort of that when we were at the conference, I was able to put that a little bow on my swimming career and say like, yes, I did that. That's 12 years that I'm happy I did.
William Witmer joining us on lcpioneers.com live. We're Tuesday through Friday at 11:30 Pacific time, and archived youtube.com/lcpios. Outside of the pool, outside of the traditional academic coursework, you were involved with ASLC. Just describe what that is in general, and why you decided that you wanted to be involved in it.
Yeah, ASLC stands for the Associate Students of Lewis and Clark. It's Lewis and Clark Student Government. I don't want to say program, student government organization is a better way to put it. And it piqued my interest because I was involved in student government in high school, and I also had sort of like an organizational role there as like as the school's sustainability officer, and I had an internship at the city of Phoenix and worked with their Department of Environmental Programs. And I'm like, I might as well just keep continuing that on. That sounds like a fun thing to do. So I became a student senator my freshman year. It was an elected position, and I served on the student senate and sort of voiced concerns for student body members and whatnot on the senate. I met with the Bon Appetit Management Company a few times, to help set them up their food engagement committee. It's been a lot of things these past few years, but I think it's finally in a good spot. Um, Not that I've been involved in that, but then after my sophomore year, not my sophomore, my freshman year, I decided that I wanted to continue being involved in this. And one of the ways you can continue being involved, if not a senator or representative for a student union or organization, is you can become a cabinet member. And I sort of I was elected as the student body treasurer that year, fall 2017. And then I sort of, I just kind of stuck with it, more or less, because I enjoyed it so much. And I was able to find my sort of niche of outside that third thing that people are looking for. If you've got your academics, and if you have your athletics, and maybe that third thing, whether or not it's your free time or like you play your guitar or other sort of thing. And that sort of filled that niche for me. And that involvement the past 4 years was an amazing experience, because I would have met so many people that I would have never met before if I never chose to be involved. And that sort of goes to show that if you are passionate about anything, Lewis and Clark definitely has a club for it. Or and if it doesn't exist, you can make it. It's super easy to make the clubs and whatnot, and clubs and orgs. So it's super cool. But I think that experience really opened my eyes to not only how like student government works, but sort of the underlying like on who's doing all the like heavy lifting behind the scenes to make the college run as a whole. Because there's not just it's not just the professors and the coaches and like the people that work in like the bookstore or the people that work in the food services. There are like support staff. There's the facilities. There's like coordinators, HR coordinators, and all the sort of things that create this giant machine that help Lewis and Clark run as a whole. And I got to sit on meetings and go to budget meetings as well, um, and sort of meet with other admin that I think that was um, it was a privilege as serving as an officer. Um, yeah, and because of that, I got became good friends and coworkers with the people working at the business office. They were especially friendly because I was always transferring funds and moving around money, and submitting forms and stuff. But yeah, it was a very and I like that experience as well because I was also running a grant board, that the for finance committee. That's a student run grant board, much similar to what already exists. The student academic affairs board has a grant board, but that's for like academic projects. My grant board is more geared for anybody who has a project, and projects we funded this year included trips, and there's a beehive on the grad campus that somebody's working on. There's a cob oven for wood-fired pizzas right in front of a building on the residential side, and we helped them out with that. So stuff like that. It was also interesting to see like how the things we're doing behind the scenes have tangible effects on students and whatnot. So yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
experience.
Well, and I'm going to say, even having a chance to work at the very tail end of your time on the Student Life, virtual task force and figuring out programming that Student Life as a division could put out there, really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better in that particular instance, but certainly have admired your work and on this show, giving us some insight on how to get involved outside of athletics. Really appreciate that. Good luck with pursuing things in the midst of the pandemic, post graduation, and pursuing your administrative medical world. William Witmer, thanks for joining us on lcpioneers.com live.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to talk to him. Yeah, we were working on programming from the Division of Student Life, and William was great because he was one of our students that were in on those conversations as our Student Life group put together a landing page, kind of a hub to share some of that information. Jeremiah was also on that as well, vice president on ASLC now. And Mike is the president of ASLC, who's also worked for PioStream before, and want to give them some credit too. In the midst of the protests, protesting the mistreatment of Black Americans, systematic racism throughout the U.S. The ASLC came through, wrote a letter with the entire cabinet, and put out some great resources for those seeking to work toward this active anti-racist mentality and being able to help the students of color, Black students at Lewis and Clark's campus, have a better experience. And that's something that I've talked about on the show, and some of the work that I'm putting in personally to try to make sure that that happens at Lewis and Clark. And if you want to see those resources that ASLC put together, you can go to lcpioneers.com/BLM resources. They also put together some funding specifically for a cause, and this was right, 2 or 3 days. They had a really good reaction and commitment to trying to make Lewis and Clark a better place for our Black students. And they put in their Instagram post, which we linked in our Facebook comments below. They link those resources but they say, that our cabinet must do better and have to put in the work. And so they're actually offering, questions and concerns, for diversity and equity at Lewis and Clark, really anything at all. Their newest Instagram post yesterday. If you want to take advantage of ASLC as a resource, certainly do that by going to their Instagram page, which is ASL Clark _. And again, that's linked in the Facebook comments below. So big thanks to William for joining us. Like I said, he was involved actively throughout his time at Lewis and Clark, and really appreciate him opening up about not only his experience outside of athletics and how that helped shape his Lewis and Clark experience, but even, going from a rougher freshman year to really thriving, by his senior year. And he seemed to be on track, certainly for some key internships before the pandemic hit, and excited to see him kind of get those opportunities in the future. Best of luck to William and everyone else from the class of 2020 going forward. I invite you to join us again on Thursday. We have no show tomorrow. Usually 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday. I'm not going to have a show live tomorrow. So on Thursday, we'll be joined by Lewis and Clark softball head coach Shauna Cyrus. And then on Friday, we're bringing a rising junior from volleyball, Kelsey Parker, set to join us. Also excited next week, planning to have Ben Walker of men's golf, and Valerie White, who's the ombudsperson at Lewis and Clark. Will introduce you into the ombuds program. Valerie has been a member of our community for a long time, and really think that her program, her office, offers a valuable service to our community. So excited to talk to Valerie also in the coming weeks on this show. So until then, we appreciate you joining us. Big thanks to William Witmer for being our guest. I'm Ryan Goff. Thanks for having fun with us on this Tuesday. We will talk to you again Thursday for more lcpioneers.com live, streaming live on Facebook at 11:30, Tuesday through Friday, and then also archived on our YouTube page, youtube.com/lcpios. Until then, we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm Nick Lombardi. Something I've learned at Winterim this year is how to communicate a vision.
My biggest takeaway from Winterim is probably the networking. Getting to talk to everybody, connect with people for the future is one of the most valuable things, and I did Winterim last year, came back for more this year.
I think a way in which my liberal arts education has really helped me and my group formulate our ideas is that concept of critical thinking and having many different backgrounds. Me being an econ major and my two group mates being chemistry majors, we really get that well-rounded background, well-rounded ideas.
I think overall it's absolutely worth doing. You find yourself not only being more prepared for, say, this next semester, on top of being more prepared for life in general.